it's 3rd of April. We'll be looking at the compost comparison this year. Plenty to try out here that have been donated by 3 different companies this year. So I've got B&Q. They've, it's the 3rd time that they've donated some compost for me to sort of try out and put them against, not so much put them against one another, because they all work. It's just some better than others for certain things. Also, we've got Scrivens Landscape Supplies. They supply me with some green waste compost and some topsoil. And last but not least, Jamieson Brothers, which is also JBA seed potatoes. They've donated a couple of samples for me to try out. Obviously, that's a bit more high-end stuff. Various price ranges. It's up to you what you can budget for. And I'll put all the links for all these will be in the description below, so you can have a look online. The pros and cons and the prices of them, and it's up to you which one you want to choose. Also, there'll be some discount codes for the Scrivens. Should still be working. You can get discount on that stuff, because it is very affordable, that stuff, and it just, like I say, it's up to you and your budget. So there'll be links for all these in the description below, and also you can support the channel and any of the voucher codes I've got. And also, I'm going to be putting my own compost, which is in this bag at the end here, which is just my own garden and kitchen waste. So I thought, well, I'll put that in again. I've decided I was going to put some sort of fertiliser in, but I'm actually just going to, I might put a little bit in for the potatoes, but I'm going to try them in other ways. But I don't know, I might actually just put them in as they are and just test them on the nutrient level. Because obviously, some of these have got 6 months feeding. And some, that topsoil won't have much in it, but, potatoes can grow fine in just topsoil. It has happened before. There is one other one, so I'll quickly go through the names of them. We've got the Westland peat-free multi-purpose compost with added John Innes. That is a good compost. I've used that a few times. It does dry out a bit quick, but it's quite good. I've got the Westland John Innes number 3 mature plant compost. I've used that before in a previous comparison. Did well for potatoes, that. And then we've got some Westland planting soil for vegetables, and also Westland planting soil for flowers. I've used some of the flower ones for some strawberry plants. I thought I'll bung them in, because I've got another thing I can show you after I'm trying out. And then a couple of bags of verve. They're both the same compost, but when I spoke to Joy, who runs the department in the gardening section at B&Q, she said they were from 2 different suppliers. They basically moved supplier. I think it's supposed to be the same sort of stuff, but there is a difference in weight. I've not looked at them yet, so she said, well, would I try them both out and see if there's any comparison? So I thought, well, fine, I'll give it a go. Got a big grow bag. Don't know what I'm doing with that yet. I might put 3 strawberry plants in it and kind of use it to my advantage and see how well it does with that. Or I might split it in half, put a potato in half and maybe a tomato plant or a pepper plant in the other half. We'll see how that goes. But I have got some strawberry plants called Colossus, and I've only got 3 of them, so I might actually put 3 strawberry plants in there. And obviously we've got the Scrivens green waste, Scrivens topsoil, and then we've got the Jamieson Brothers multi-purpose compost. This is all a premium quality range. You've got a full range, on the website. And then we've got the multi-purpose compost with John Innes added in. John Innes is just kind of a blend of like feeds, and it's kind of more loam based, so it does retain water quite well. I think they're all peat free. That's just the way it is now, and it is a bit harder to deal with. I still don't think they've quite got it cracked for the water retention side of things. Cocoa peat is not too bad, but that's hiked up in price. So first thing I'm going to plant in all these is some potatoes, and what I'm going to test out for nutrient level is I might just use some small pots and have some sacrificial tomato plants. I'm just going to put in a small pot, maybe a 10 centimetre pot, and see how long they grow before they start showing signs of being depleted by a food source. So that's something I'll have a look at. Also, I'll show you what I'm doing now, because I've pricked my tomatoes out, but I've got some left over, so I'll do some of these in some of this stuff. So we'll have a look at how everything's getting on, seedling-wise, and I've not planted anything yet, apart from sweet peas. They've gone in. I decided to put them in the other day, because we had a lot of rain, so there was a dry spell. I thought I needed to get them out. So we'll have a quick look around at all the seedlings, how things are going, before we get on with doing a bit of potting stuff. Right, I'll just quickly show you this. This is what I've used some of the Westlands, you know, planting soil for flowers. I've never been one for these vertical planter bags. So I was found they don't hold enough compost, but they roughly hold about 4 litres per pocket, which is quite substantial, really. Should be enough. A couple of these strawberry plants seem to be showing signs of struggling. I had some sawdust on it, so I don't know whether it's something in the sawdust, because I didn't have any straw. I've got some straw now. So I don't know if they've leached something off that and it's done something, you know, to them, I don't know. But some are suffering and some aren't. So we'll just play that one by ear. But I'm more keen to see how well it retains the moisture. Because, you know, it is, you know, it is breathable. But when you soak them, it doesn't get soaking wet here. So it drains okay, but it doesn't seem to dry it out. So it just depends on the sun, how it hits it. And, you know, once you get a good bloom on top of something, that's when it puts it under pressure, see how it can hold the water and nutrients. These will just get fed with tomato feed, these will later on in the season, if they survive. I've got some other strawberry plants I need to decide where I'm going to put. But yeah, I just thought I'd show you that. So that's another thing that B&Q have supplied for me to try out. But it's a tidy little thing. I mean, it won't be staying here, because I usually plant petunias in these pots, so I'll have to find some, maybe a shed or something for them. But if you haven't got any room, or you've got like a patio, these things are out. You can grow lettuce in them, grow anything really. You know, spring onions, probably okay for herbs and everything. But probably nice with like hanging flowers, so you get a big wall of like lobelia or something like that. You know, look quite nice. But each to their own. If you like flowers, do flowers. If you like veg, do veg. But this is kind of, you know, a bit of both. It does flowers, but you get to eat them at the end when they become strawberries. So we'll have a look around at the rest of the garden. Right, we shall start in a little, well, what I call a cucumber house. Just some strawberries. I think these are called Honai or something like that, these strawberries. And then there's some colossus over there, and at the back there's a couple of my own variety. I can't remember the name of them. I've had them for absolute years. I keep taking runners off, but I've put them in pots of some. I've got some in some Westland and some in some green waste compost. It was just to test the compost, really, to make sure there was, especially that green compost, but it seems to be doing fine. So it kind of, you know, from that bag and that batch, it seems to be okay. There's just a little sage cut in there if it's going to grow. It seems to be surviving okay. That's all there is in here for now. I might end up doing a cucumber or two in here, but I might actually have a go at doing some melons. I did them years ago, not very much success, but I've got a couple of varieties I might try out, because it's only me who eats them. Okay, I'm sure Kane will enjoy them as well. So I've looked down here. These are some like raspberries that I got from the allotment. I didn't plant them up at the allotment in the particular place I got them from. It'd be birds nicking them, and they've kind of sprouted from the seed in my asparagus bed. So I dug them up and brought them back here, and they've taken. So I'll just leave them be. If I get a few fruits, fair enough. But it's just a case of letting them fill them, you know, all the roots out in there, and they'll come back. I can prune them. The primer canes, they're all polka, the variety. So they'll get trimmed off at the end of the year, and then they grow back the year after. There's some of last year's giant onions, just called Exhibition. They're starting to throw out a top now, so they'll probably get seed spikes on them, which will go about 5-6 foot high. Great big white flower, and then you can get your onion seeds. I don't know if they're in F1, I don't think they are. Just a way, that's how you do, if you want to take your onion seeds. Just put a few in the year after, let them sort of store until, you know, as long as possible, then get them in a pot on the sunny windowsill, or it's warm enough, put them outside, and let them grow the second year, and you'll get your seed then. There's nothing actually planted in the ground up here, but I've got these are all my onion seedlings. Keep turning around because I keep leaning towards the sun, but things are starting to get desperate now to go out. I went down the plot the other day to go and pay the rent, and I'll put a little clip so you can see what the script is down the plot, and it's not ready, so I might have to pot some stuff on. So I'll probably put the clip on now. So as you can see, it was pretty wet down there, so certain things, it's not worth the risk, so I might just pot things on until it's kind of a bit better. But most things will be going in about 2 weeks, hopefully. We have got a dry spell. So these are peas, they've come through, they're a bit patchy, but I mean there's plenty enough there. Those are the peas in the gutters. I can't remember when I sold these now, it's not that long ago to be honest. But they've all come through and they just stay out here. And then if you get any really heavy downpours, I slide them with this contraption. This is just a temporary cover to try out. I've got another piece of polythene, so I thought I could get some offcuts, stick them together, but I don't trust it might blow apart. So I've got a piece of polythene for it. And the idea behind that is, instead of growing my peppers in pots, keep having to water them, and they don't tend to do well straight outside, so I'm going to put them under that. So it's like a mini polytunnel, and I can just, lift the plastic off, just trapping it at the end here with some pipe lagging. It's been out here for about 3 weeks, and it's not been ripped off, and we've had high winds, so if it works, great. If it doesn't, well, you don't find these things out unless you try. The nets, that they fit on the new Vegega metal raised beds, so the link in the description for those beds. If you want to have a look at the site, and there's a discount code as well. Some spring greens over there are struggling, but they're just for a bit of an early picking of stuff for tortoise, and eventually I'll have some potatoes going in there, which I've planted. Duke Yorks are in the tub, so I'm doing first earlies here rather than main croppers. I'll be Duke Yorks, Swift, and probably a couple of pots of Jazzies or something like that to fill up that. And that's just going to go in like these Scrivens, compost and topsoil mix, the same as I did my Swift potatoes. There's 4 to a pot, 30 litre pot, so I'll end up with either 9 or 11 pots there in total. Get them out of the way by July and fill it with something like leeks or something like that, to sort of go into the winter months and hopefully miss the rust. Carrot boxes are all full, so's that one. I'm just waiting for my seeds to arrive. I usually do sow them on the 1st of April, but they're due any day now, so I've got the long red intermediate, which are going in that one, and then the sweet candle in that one. I get my seeds for growing the bigger carrots from Medwin's of Anglesey. It's just somewhere I've always used them, but I mean, sweet candle is regular sweet candle. Whoever you want to get your seeds off, I'm not affiliated with any seed companies. So wherever you can get from, your local garden shop or online store, wherever you like. All I've got in here is some bits of radish. Birds started pecking the seeds out, so I've put that on and they've taken. Just some old compost, that. Nothing else going on down this end, just compost sort of brewing away in there. That stuff's kind of ready, just maturing this end, and I've got my fresh piles over that end. I've got some stored green waste compost in there. Have a look at the seedlings now. Well, we'll have a look at these sweet peas. So, I don't know how many there is. There's probably about 60 or something like that. These are all Hilda's mix. So if you're new to the channel, I do these every year along this fence, because my mum used to do it for years, and it was basically a few strains that we mixed together, and they became a cross, I guess, and kept the seeds year after year. And sadly, she passed away just over 5 years ago, so I keep growing them sort of in her memory. And there's plenty of YouTubers that grow them in her memory as well, that I've posted them out. I tend to do a seed giveaway sort of end of the year. I might do it again this year, I don't know. And we've got the garlic, which is kind of getting very desperate to go out now. So I might risk that up at the plot. Because I've got raised beds, but I don't want to get them rotting off. I think there's 75 or something there. Don't know how many I'm going to fit into bed yet. That is one thing, you see, I have not actually sat down and planned where I'm putting stuff, which is very unlike me. My head's just been elsewhere at the moment. So we're going to set the polytunnel. Getting a bit short on room in here now. These are all the brassicas that I potted on. These are getting, drying out quite quick, especially in this heat. I do have them outside to try and get them a blow-about. So I might either pot them on, because these are showing signs of starting to get a bit pale, so I don't know if they're going to start lacking. Everything else is right, it's just these Primo 2. Some bits and bobs in here, some mustard, some lettuce, bolt hardy beetroot. It's been a bit patchy on germination, don't know why. Some more sweet peas over there. Mixture of lettuce that's pricked out, got some mazure, and some looks like a winter cos. Just something quick. It's just all I'll grow the cos lettuce for. The Remain type is for cane. The leftover tomato seedlings, so they're only actually not even a month old since I sold them. I think it was about the 7th or 8th of March I sold them. So they've come on. So I'm going to use some of them just in this sort of size pot to test those different composts out. And over this other side, little tray down there with some alpine strawberries and petunias. Leftover brassicas up there. These are actually celery. See what comes of them. I thought I'd try some spring onions in these little things. You know, I put about 5 seeds per little module. They're a bit patchy, but I just thought I'll try them and then put them into the garden. Just dotting them in between crops, you know, for something quick. Some more lettuce. I had a bit of a label mix up and a plant mix up by the look of it here, but I've got rocket. These are Mazua, and I've got some here that are called New Red Fire. I've not grown them before. I've got some Grenoble Red at the back there, which are probably getting a bit limp now, so I might have to put these in the shade. And then we've got the Valen, which is another cost lettuce. These are getting ready to go out, so I will be planting this next week. I'll be putting some bits in the garden. I just need to think of where things are going to go before I actually commit to it. Some more extra broccoli, in case I don't have enough. I've not done any extra cauliflower because I'm not a great fan of cauliflower. And down here we have my Kelsey onions. These are getting desperate to go out, so I just need to sort of find a place for these. There's 30 there, and I'm not growing 30. I don't know how many I'm going to grow, but whatever I don't grow, I'll be giving away to my brother-in-law. Probably a couple up the plot as well, because it's fun for them to, if you've got a little spot to put a big onion in, you know, especially if it gets to £5-6, it's like, we've got it's a lot of onion, but it's still onion at the end of the day. It doesn't store very well, Kelsey's, but it's a lot of onion for a small space. So if you get a square foot, you know, anything over £3 is a good onion. Right, we'll have a quick look at a couple of things before I pot some stuff up. One thing I wanted to explain, I mentioned in a video before about drinking straws. I haven't got a brassica to do it with, so I'll kind of demonstrate with this tomato plant what happens. So if I plant my brassicas and lettuce, but I can only tend to put the straws, drinking straws, around my brassicas. So I go to my plot. It looks a bit brutalist, but yeah, I'm going to cut it. I get to my plot and I find a plant nibbled off pretty much at ground level and the top of it laying at the side of it like that. So, you know, these seedlings are, you know, 4-6 weeks old, and it's very disappointing because you can't make that time back. So many years ago, an old guy told me a way to protect the stems. I think he had cutworms, but I didn't know in the beginning whether it was cutworms or leather jackets. Now, leather jackets is basically the larvae of the crane fly or the daddy longlegs, and I get them in the garden as well, more so in the lawn because they do like grass roots and shoots. And when you find a plant like that, it'll usually about an inch under the surface. Within 6 inches of the plant, you'll find it laying there, and it just basically, that's all it does. You just shears it off like that. It just leaves you with a stem. Plant dies, and you know it is a nightmare. So to overcome that, that's what a leather jacket looks like. Horrible little things, little chunky grubs. You know, so that'll be getting dispatched. Because obviously I've for my tortoise in the back garden, I have like a little pool for him to walk around with, and they tend to go in there. You don't see them in the daytime. It's at night time. They'll come along the top of the soil, nip the plant off and that. But they are a nuisance. Signs are, you know, they will eat grass roots. If you've got any brown patches, obviously, you know, you get the chafer grubs do the same and that. But leather jackets are a nuisance. For me, they're a pest. They're my arch enemy, especially with brassicas. So if I put the drinking straws on, I tend to lose none. So I will show you how I put the drinking straws on one of them. Probably one of my spring greens or something for now. So I'll have a quick look at that, and then we'll do a bit of tomato pricking out. Right, so I've picked a plant. I'm using one of my Aquil's broccoli plants. Very dry, so these all need a water. I only watered them like last night, so they've gone really light, these. So it's a kind of sign that it's probably got quite a lot of roots on it. I can get it out the pot. It's not pot bound, but it's not far off. It won't keep for 2 weeks in that. And that's the thing, if they're a big plant for a small amount of compost and you go and plant it out and it's hit by a dry spell, has it got enough time to get some roots tapped into that nice wet soil, or it dry out the main root ball here, and if that happens, you'll lose the plant. You know, it'll put a setback. So I pot these on now, and it just buys me a bit of time. There's no rush, you know, because obviously, I mean, they're about over a month old, these, you know, so by the time these get planted out, they've had about probably nearly 40, 50 days here. So they've only got like the same again to do and they're finished, you know, so roughly about 80 to 100 days from sowing this to harvesting. So I'll just show you what I do with drinking straws. You don't need many, and it's handy because you can colour code things if you buy different colours. So if you get your pots mixed, you don't have to label stuff because you kind of remember. You just label one pot, you know anything with a certain colour straw on is the same. So I'll roughly try and just line up the straw, and it needs to come up to where the first true leaves are, which you've got these little leaves at the side here. These are its seed leaves. It's going to lose them. They're going to get yellow and die off anyway. So you need to come up to where the main stem is, where it splits off. So I'm saying about that sort of depth. I like to push it into the compost a little bit, but you'll not get too far. And basically get the straw, snip it, you get a little section of drinking straw like so. And then get some scissors and cut along it so it opens out. And then I'm going to get some scissors and I'm going to cut these seed leaves off because it's not going to need them. I don't think it's going to fall out with me about it. It's probably not going to enjoy it, but and it can be a bit fiddly, this. So I'll try and show you best way I can. So we've got the plant there, stem, and I'm going to place this around the stem. It goes all the way around, and then just push it down into that surface, that compost a little bit. And if it's a little bit, you know, too wide, there's still a gap, cut another piece and put that around it. And all that'll do is it'll shield that bit. They never tend to bother it too much under the soil. It's always just at the surface of the soil. And then it gives it time to grow, and as the stem gets woody, they don't tend to bother it, or they can't seem to do anything to it. And it'll naturally expand that straw and ping it off. So I've kind of found that is, I won't say 100%, but I'll probably say 99.9% efficient, that if I do that, I'll pretty much lose nothing. But I can't really do it on lettuce. For some reason, it's just too awkward to get them on, but it's mainly brassicas they tend to target for me. Obviously, they'll target anything, but I mean, it's these that get the hard time. So that's all I do with the drinking straws. So it's a handy little tip for people. If you find you're going down, you find a plant sheared off, just try that, and it could be a revelation for you. Right, so I'll show you. I'll get some of my own compost, and I'll show you how I prick these tomatoes out. I'm just going to use just a pot. So it's probably 10-12 centimetres or a litre pot. I'm just going to dispatch that leather jacket before I let it go. That leather jacket's no more. Right, I'll go and get some of my own compost. Yeah, pot my own compost, kitchen waste stuff. Just going to tamp it down like so. I could put vermiculite in it, you know, because it does get quite wet and heavy, this stuff, but I'm not going to bother because it's about testing the composts, so you don't have to buy that additional thing, you know. So this is more for testing how much food there is in the compost, looking for that lacking sign of yellowing leaves or purpley tinged leaves and things like that, where the plant's starting to go in some sort of stress. Now, my smallest plants are the Allocantes, but I'm not quite sure how many of them I've got. So I'll just try and see if I've got one where I've got quite a few of. Moneymaker, I've got quite a few of them. We'll go with Moneymaker. So it's simply your pot of compost, that's all. It's a bit tricky the lighting in here because the sun's right behind my back, but you probably get the gist. I'm just going to lift out the seedling, grab it by its seed leaves, because some of these have got, you know, the true leaves now. Tomatoes, you can bury them down the stem quite a bit more. So if you've got quite a long stem on it, you can bury it down quite a bit. Basically, get your roots on the bottom, make a hole in the middle of your pot, and send it in a bigger hole than that. And push that root ball right the way down, because that stem will grow roots. So you just get a bigger root system. It's all about roots this time. You get as much roots as you go in. Then when the main season comes, it's got a big root ball and it'll be away. tamper that down a bit more, like so. And then just give it you can soak it from the bottom if you want. Like I say, the only thing I've got to do is keep them watered and avoid the cold. I'll try my best with the cold, but it can happen where you leave them out and you're away somewhere and a sudden cold snap in the air and it can wipe the lot out. So I'll try my best to avoid that, to try and see this test through. So good water. It'll probably wilt a bit. I'll probably put it in the shade, for a couple of hours, but you'll know within like 2 days, if it's, they're pretty much 99% reliable that they'll take quite fine. So that's all I'm going to do with all the composts. I'm just going to do that with each one, and then we'll see how they get on. I'll put a label in them so I know which is which, and like I say, we're looking for signs, not so much masses of growth. Obviously there will be a difference between the plants. I did show this last year, but I'm not going to grow these for as long. So I'm just basically looking for overall health of the plant, and when the leaves start to go yellow or they're lacking in food. The yellowing is usually a lack of nitrogen's gone, but there's other aspects like phosphorus and potassium or potash, which will aid the plant in obviously root and uptake. So we shall see how they get on. So we'll have a quick look how I'm going to do these potatoes. I'm just going to do one pot instead of boring you doing them all, because I think there's 10 or 11 different types of compost. So I'm doing them in 12 litre pots because I haven't got enough 10 litre pots. So I'm going to do one seed potato, Charlotte's, because B&Q had some in, so they said, yeah, take a bag of them to try it. So thanks B&Q for these. These are just seed potatoes. Just going to shove one to a pot. I'm not taking any chits off, just going in like that, chit side up, and then I'll just let them do their own thing. I'll keep them watered, and probably about 100 days we'll see the result of this, and which is basically yield, weight I'm after. Because sometimes the top of the plant can be telling you porcupines. It might not look very well, but under that soil you don't know. That's the beauty of potatoes. It's a bit like treasure. When you tip it out, sometimes it's great, sometimes it's not. I would like to test 2 pots of each, but I haven't got the actual space to do so, and obviously it's the water inside is a thing to keep up with. That's why I'm not putting 2 potatoes in a pot, because once they start getting a good head of foliage on, they do dry out quite quick. So I'll just show you quickly how I'm going to do these. Right, I've got a 12 litre pot here. It's one of the ones I used a few years ago. This has got the Westland multi-purpose for Johnny, so I can get rid of that. I've got some labels to go in. This is my own compost, kitchen scraps, garden waste and grass clippings and whatnot. I'm just going to lob it in. A 10 litre pot would be okay. I mean, first dailies would be fine. I mean, these Charlottes are a bit of a second daily, really. I'm going to tamper it down a bit. It's probably about 1/3 of the way up that. So I'll select a seed potato. Anyone will do. That one. Straight in the middle. Nestle it down so it's pretty much touching the bottom of the pot, that. And then fill it up. I would like to sort of nestle these into the soil somewhere, but I haven't really got anywhere, so they're going to be sort of just put on the garden path for now. They'll probably take about 3 to 4 weeks, depending on the weather, to start emerging, so which will take us to sort of like the first part of May. Do have to be careful of frost though, because last frost date here is middle of May, so I've just got to be a bit vigilant around that time. And then I'll pop my plant label in, which basically just says own. And if it's damp, I won't water it, but if it's really dry, I will. I just don't want that seed potato rotting off, because there's enough energy in the seed potato to get it going. So don't worry about that. I need to water it straight away now. It doesn't really need to. All the energy's in that potato, and it needs to grow, and then that will tap roots in. So once it wants to get to the top, get some leaves out, and then that will photosynthesize, and the roots will develop then as well. And that's it. You could put fertilizer in, or you could kind of I mean, Charlotte's take roughly what, 12, 14 weeks. So once you get to about 8-week mark, they need a bit of nitrogen at the start, but once you get near the end, they need is potash they need to help that bulking. Bone meal's a good one you can use for roots. But yeah, potash, tomato feed. So I might just water these with a tomato feed, a real weak mix, all of them the same. But then I might just see how they get on with it with nothing. Which is probably the better idea to test, to be honest. It's like put nothing in it and just test the compost as it is. Obviously, this will not do as well as a lot of these because it's just kitchen scraps. It's probably got quite a bit of nitrogen in it because it's predominantly green waste that's gone in. Kitchen scraps, anything in your kitchen, tea bags, the lot. It's all gone in there. You leave it 6 to 8 months or whatnot and sieve it down. This sat over winter. I've just sieved it down. I put it somewhere where it could dry out a bit because it can be a bit sticky. So this is good stuff if you want to top dress your soil. It's great for that. It's got a bit of not dead high in feed, but it does its thing. It feeds the soil because as you grow things, you keep taking things away, and you need to learn to sort of put something back. So if you can rot all your scraps down, it's something to give back, which will then give you more. Right, so that's it for this update. I'm going to get on and pot the rest of these potatoes up and the rest of these tomato plants and give things a bit of a water, and then I'll start gathering some footage over the next couple of weeks when I actually start planting things, and that'll come on, probably nearer towards the last week of April, because all the potatoes will be going into the allotment. I'll be probably aiming for around 15th of April is going to be the day. That weekend, can't do it this weekend because I've got a gig coming up. So I've got 2 weeks without a gig. So those 2 weeks are my window to get everything done. So I just need like a good week or so of some warm weather, nice breeze to dry the ground out, and to warm the soil up, and then I can get cracking then. And once they're in, I cover them up, and my bit's done. It's down to Mother Nature then, and fingers crossed it ends up a good year again. So thanks for watching, take care, see you next time.